In our profession, with the right knowledge and experience, the sky's the limit. And whilst we know the letters after your name or your statement of professional standing are important signs of standards, professionalism and trust, it's not all we're about. We're also focused on our members' development by giving you access to a community of like-minded professionals, all bound by the same code of ethics. There's good practice guides, technical papers, PFS Power, and so much more great content to facilitate your CPD, like hundreds of regular face-to-face meetings and digital events, making it easy to stay on top of industry trends and to network with members all over the country. And with membership, you can work towards chartered status for a place amongst the experts in your field. If you have knowledge to share or want to learn, you can sign up to our e-mentoring platform to connect and exchange ideas and support. And not forgetting the perks. Save on a range of products and services, or access our legal helpline for free confidential advice. Get more from your membership today.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us this sunny Friday morning for this week's power session. So this is part 2 of the three-part series that Asgar's delivering for us on all things LinkedIn. So I'm really looking forward to this. So if you didn't join us for the first session, we looked at building your LinkedIn profile and how to make that really wow. So we're taking it a stage further this week, and we're going to be looking at content. So how to write some really good and really exciting content on LinkedIn. If you missed the first session, it is available on the PFS Power website for you to pick back up again, or it's actually in the resources section on the session today. If you haven't registered for the third session, that's on the 30th of November, and the link to do that is also in the resources session this morning. The slides are available for you, and the session is being recorded today, so don't worry about having to write lots of notes down. You'll be able to access all the slides afterwards, and any links that Asgar referred to will also be there for you in the resources session. So to get us started today, Asgar, can you let us know a few headlines that are going to be coming up for us in today's session?
Yeah, of course I can, Sarah, and thank you for inviting me. So today is all about getting started with content creation. So the idea is really to make it easy for you. Of course, I don't know where you are right now, but maybe you've never posted on LinkedIn. So I want to really help you get started posting on LinkedIn. Maybe you have a little bit of experience and you can need some advice to share even better content and maybe provide different content. So we'll be looking a little bit at the mindset, because I know a lot of people are afraid of posting or nervous about posting content on LinkedIn or social medias for that matter, and I can definitely recognize that. So we're going to talk a little bit about the mindset. Then I want to go into how can you share exciting content in a story format, because the brain loves a good story. So we'll be looking at that. And then finally, there will be some how-tos, like a little bit more detailed. What types of content can you make? And make it a little bit more detailed so you get some really tangible takeaways to get started. So this is kind of the big headline.
That sounds really good. Really looking forward to that. Just to point out as well, the session is going to last for about 40 minutes. There is a question and answer box on your screen, so please feel free to submit any questions that you've got as we go along. Nobody else can see the question that you're submitting apart from you, so don't worry about putting something in there that you're not 100% confident about. Please feel free to submit them, and we'll do our best to answer all questions at the end of the session. So to get started and to show me you know where the Q&A box is, if you joined us for the first session and you've already made some changes for your LinkedIn profile, it'd be really great if you could just type in the comments what you actually did, and we can go from there. And while you're busy adding your comments, I'll hand over to Asgar and he'll get the session started with us.
All right. So yeah, this is all about getting success on LinkedIn. Our second series here on LinkedIn. And first of all, I just want to say thank you so much to all of you that joined last time, left a comment after the webinar. So it was very nice to get some advice, some feedback to this, and I could generally see it was well appreciated. So Thank you a lot for the kind comments and support also to further improve this. If you're joining for the first time, also welcome here. You can still get a lot of value by learning how to create great content. But as Sarah said, I encourage you to go back and also, of course, optimize your profile, because you really need both a great profile. You need to be able to make great content. And this third session is all about networking. And if you have those three things together, you are going to have a really awesome chance to get success on LinkedIn. In fact, I would almost guarantee it if you do the things you need to do. So this is an area I love very much, making content on LinkedIn, because I think it's a lot of fun. It's a great community on LinkedIn. Generally, people tend to be very positive. It's slightly different than Facebook, where there can be a little bit of bashing back and forth. So really, it is a professional network where people are here to help each other, generally speaking. And you can position yourself like a thought leader, as someone that knows a lot. And no matter what situation is, it's almost always beneficial to create some content, because other people will be eager to see who you are. Do you know something? And you can show that you're passionate about whatever topic it is. So it can be your little own homepage. So I really encourage you to make some content. And as I said today, let's look into the mindset. Let's not under-evaluate that can have a big influence in not posting content. If you are a little bit nervous, yeah, maybe we hold back. So let's look at how you can procrastinate a little bit less and feel good about posting. And then we'll look into the story format, because we love a great story. But even if you're sharing business content, do it in a story format. And I want to show you it's not necessarily the things that happen, but more it's a structure. You can use that structure, and then you're going to get some practical nuts and bolts. And if you have questions, yeah, please leave them in the bio. I can see a lot of people are writing here. Karen is writing a comment. I made a lot of changes. And in particular, I changed my tagline, asked for some recommendation, and sorted out my contact information. That's great, Karen. Awesome. This is really going to help your profile, having this sorted out. James is writing, change picture, tagline, and bio, exclamation mark. Great. This is awesome stuff. Thanks for sharing this, James and Karen. And Ken is writing here, do I need to have to pay for subscription to LinkedIn in order to access the features you're using today? No, you can go with a free profile. There's a lot of great benefits to just having a free profile. I'm using a free profile. Of course, you get more features with the paid one, but it depends a little bit on your situation. I would say for most people, the free version is fine. If you're an independent business owner and you're really marketing yourself on LinkedIn, it's probably worth considering whether or not to get a paid subscription. I know they often have like a 90-day where you can not pay, so you could try it out. I know there are certain tools like Sales Navigator and so forth. So yeah, consider it, do a little bit of research on that. I'm not going to be talking about the premium paid version today, but I'll be happy to take any questions further on after the webinar with emails, or maybe we can have it in the third session if it's of interest in the terms of networking. So let's hop on to the next slide here. I just want to give you 3 really quick takeaways so you don't get like overwhelmed, because I do have quite a lot of slides. We're going to cover a lot of stuff. So sometimes it's nice to go back and say, what is the big picture in order to create great content? And the first, you might think this is very simple, but you got to think about who is your audience. Who are you writing to? A lot of times we forget it, and we just tend to think, hey, let me share some great knowledge. But in fact, who do you want to get in touch with? And then I found this picture, which I also think kind of represents LinkedIn very well. There are a lot of people looking at other people presenting, sharing content, but the vast, vast majority of people are not sharing content. So you actually have a huge opportunity to market yourself, help people, so you have the audience there. So it's really like a great platform. I don't know how many percentage that post regularly, but I think it's very few, maybe even just 1% that post every week over a longer period of time. So this is a great, great opportunity for you to market yourself and get in touch with a lot of people. And sometimes people can be afraid, oh, should I share my information? Oh, how do I, if I just want a client then to pay? And there's a really good saying that is information for free, implementation for fee. So if you share great information, there's a really, really good chance your audience is going to need some help to implement it. So often we know what to do, but we don't get it done, so we need the help with the implementation. So don't be afraid to post your best content. Potentially, you could be helping lots of people and also get some clients and good contacts. So this is the first key. We're going to dive deeper into the audience part later, but just keep that in mind. This is really important. And the second one is really share a story. Share a story. It doesn't have to be that hard, and we're going to look into it, but just keep in mind, always have a story format and think about providing value to the audience. This is why you're there. So start with a struggle, something that is painful, something that is hurting us. So that could be a hook. And I'll give you later in the webinar 6 ways to hook your audience, something that really gets them captivated in the beginning, because you need to reel them in really quickly and let them hang on there, because you're competing with a lot of people. Although I just said a lot of people are just looking at it, you are still competing in the newsfeed with other people. So you really need to captivate their interest very quickly. And then that's the first part, going into the struggle. As you know, with movies and books, it only becomes interesting when there is some sort of pain. This is what we are looking for in order to hook people. And then you share your journey. What happened along this? How did you then reach that mountain this guy is looking up to? And then once you have reached the top of the mountain, what was the transformation? What were the results? How did you change? How did your clients change? So this is very shortly the story format. We'll dive a little bit deeper into it later. But just keep in mind, if you have these 3 bullet points here, you will be able to make good content that works, that's solid, that the brain loves and your audience will like. So this is the second thing. And the third, this might sound very, very intuitive and logical. I'm a victim of this myself. You only have value when you post it. So you knowing a ton of stuff that you have in your head or on your laptop, it doesn't provide value to the audience. I remember my manager in my first job about 10, 15 years ago, he said, our clients does not get any value if you have a report that's 99.9% done. They only get value when we send it to them. And I think, share your content, provide some value. This is how you can really make a big difference. And also think about, it doesn't need to be perfect. Perfection leads to procrastination. So rather post something that is pretty good, that's solid, that works, rather than going around and tweaking all sorts of things. It is just content for LinkedIn. It is not a PhD project, or it's not a scientific article. Get it out there. Of course, you want to deliver good, valuable content, but are you missing a comma? You know what? I think we can live with that. So post it and get it out there and get some experience and have fun with it. So take the dive out there. You can do it, I know. So just in order for you to really start sharing content, it's sometimes nice to go back and look at why should you do it. And as Nietzsche said here, if you know the why, you can live anyhow. And I think that's right. So a really good question to you would be, why do you want to share content? And I can share my personal experience. For me, I get more customers. I increase my network. I learn something by sharing it, and I get lots of energy when people write me back and say, you know what, I really liked it. It helped me. So in a way, I become more fulfilled. And yeah, I kind of get business friends around the world. So it's a really unique opportunity to expand your network. But you have to sit down and think, well, why do you want to do this? So if you know that, you can go a long way. And we have Wasim here. I can say, I'm not the best when it comes to using social media. However, when it comes to using it, I do so mainly for business. In terms of content, it is important to get balance between personal and professional content. Or should I stick with professional content? Well, that's a good question. Thank you a lot. So we can just take this one, and then maybe I'll go back and do all the Q&A in the end. Maybe that's better. But anyway, you can both share personal content and business content. But I think mainly you probably want to be sharing business content, because in the beginning, people probably not going to be that interested in you, but they're going to be more interested in the business. But showing a part of yourself, I think, can be worthwhile. But again, it's not Facebook where you're out sharing, oh, I had a great evening with my kids or whatever it is. My personal opinion is stick mainly with business. If there are some personal elements to it, that's also great. You can do that. So once you know your why, we will dive into how to handle the fear of public speaking. I think the first thing we need to realize is fear is real. I know some people say fear stands for false evidence appearing real. But the fact is, there is a potential risk that somebody will kind of attack you or have a very negative comment. But I can say from being active on LinkedIn for about 2 years, it's only happened to me one time. One time I got a very negative comment, and I can say one time I probably had a slightly negative comment. So it's not very likely it's going to happen, but it can happen. So you have to deal with that. But this is also part of being a thought leader or a leader in general. You have to be able to take criticism. And I think there are ways you can prevent getting a lot of, you can say, negative feedback. That is staying away from controversial topics like politics and religion. Those are probably good ideas to kind of stay away from, unless, of course, that is your topic. Then you do that. I remember one time I made a post where I talked about how great Barack Obama is at making pauses. And there was a fairly negative comment. Somebody wrote, "Is it a good idea to use such a controversial figure for this topic?" And yeah, my comment was just, I think you should be the judge of that. So rather than going into the battle, just kind of try to diffuse it in the best possible way. But it can happen to you. Another tip I've used a lot is just to send the content by a friend you trust. Maybe you have a colleague that you know can give you good feedback and that you trust. So like, hey, yeah, this is solid content. You can definitely post this. So I think that is a great way to do it. Another one is not everyone will like you. And this is the fact, and it's not supposed to be like this. Some people say you should open your champagne when you get your first hater comment, because it means you're doing something right. You're kind of dividing the water. I'm not saying you should chase that, of course not. But I'm saying maybe you're doing something right if you have a little bit of an edge to your content. So I would rather, get 50% of people thrilled and excited about a message, and maybe the other 50% say, it wasn't for me, I don't really like it, rather than having 80% think, was kind of okay, and not really make it change. So do have a point, I think, with that. So yeah, and let's move on to the next slide. Have a plan and stick to it, because you need a plan. If you're like most people, and if you're like me, have a plan, because otherwise there's a good chance you're not gonna succeed and post on a frequent basis. So the question here is what, when, and how often should you post? The only one that can really answer that is for you. But that being said, LinkedIn is a platform that rewards people that are active, that post on a frequent basis. So maybe you could set yourself a goal, and of course you make your own goal, what is right for you and your time schedule and ambitions and so forth. Maybe it could be one time a week to make a post. It could just be a short article. If you're more ambitious, you could do a video. Or if that is too much, just say every 2 weeks. Then you have some sort of momentum. I think if you go less than a month, it starts to be a little bit too little. But again, if that's where you're at, then do a month. That's still 12 posts a year. And if people come to your profile, they can see it's not dead. You are actually somewhat active. Just a couple of tips that you could use in order to really get going and post some content. You could have a challenge with someone else. A while ago, I had a challenge with one of my good friends, and we challenged each other. Said we need to post every week, at least a video. And if we didn't do it, we would pay $10 plus, of course, the opportunity to bully the other one a little bit in a fun way. So you can have a challenge with someone. $10 is not something that ruins my budget, but it's definitely enough to be like, that's kind of a little bit of pain to lose that. And of course, so have a challenge. At the moment, I'm also doing a challenge in another group to make some marketing material where we have to post a little video every day for 21 days. So I know when I'm part of that challenge, I get my marketing material done for Facebook, where I'm also doing some stuff. And then you can have an accountability buddy. If you're just accountable to yourself, there's a good chance you won't get it done. So again, it could be a challenge with someone or just accountability where you write them. Let's say you write them Monday morning or whenever you have time and say, I'll be posting my content that day at that time. So you kind of say it out to the world. That has proven through studies that increases the likelihood that you're going to do it. So if you just keep it with yourself, there's less of a chance that you are going to post. And the other thing is be active on LinkedIn. I think that's a good idea to have. So you need to think about how much time you want to spend. Of course, I know you have other things, but maybe you want to have an ambition to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes a day. Or you could say, oh, you could do 3 times a week, 15 minutes. You could say Monday, Wednesday, Friday. After your lunch break, for instance, if you want to have a little bit of a break in front of the computer, you can go through some comments and write to other people's posts, for instance. And the other idea is really batch produce your content, especially if you're making video, you have your camera out there, just shoot them and you kind of get into a flow where you can do a couple of videos. So if you made 5 videos of just a minute, it's not going to take you that long, and you have them made. So you have it there, and then when you have time, if you want to do that, you can do the editing, or you can send the editing to someone else. Batch produce really helps you create a lot of content. And of course, if you post, you have to reply to your comments. This is a must. I have tried before when I replied, with thoughtful comments and positive energy to other people's posts, and I just get a like from them. I don't want to sound like a spoiled kid, but it just felt wrong to me that I reply to their comment and try to provide some insight and value, and all you get back is a like. It could just be, thank you for sharing that. I think, that would be the minimum you need to do. Now, let's look at something that's very, very important. All good communication is about the audience. I see a lot of people on LinkedIn making these mistakes. For instance, let's say you were out speaking at an event. You could write, hey, I had a great time at this event. Thank you so much for a fun and inspirational event. Sure, nothing as such terribly wrong with that, but who are you talking to? You're basically just maybe talking to the people at that event. You're not really providing any value to the audience. It's all mainly about you. Of course, you do it in a good intention, but you have to kind of tweak that message. Another example here could be I was out speaking at this company. As always, a lot of fun combined with inspiring conversations. Again, this tends to be a little bit about you. You're boosting yourself. Hey, I had a good time, I learned. And it's not really value for the audience. So I have a couple of ideas you can do so you can start providing value for your audience. Here's a post I made. So this is about, I wanted to share how you can show you're an expert. So this is obviously about me. Here are some of my reviews when I was out speaking with my company, Talent. And Danish just means the speakers. So I just showed a couple ways how you can prove you are an expert. You can have Trustpilot, you can have videos, and then I shared to the people in this post how they can do it. Of course, this was about me, these testimonials, but it provided a value for the audience because I showed you need to do this in order to show you are an expert. So you can see how I changed it around. The testimonials were about me, but rather change it and make it about your audience. So you could have done the same in that event. On the other slide, you could say 3 things I learned at this event was blah, 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 blah. And you can still say, oh, it was a great event. I had a good time there. But then you provided value, and you still got to say you enjoyed the event. So that is much more valuable than just sharing I had a good time. Here, just a couple of things you can share on LinkedIn. You can have articles, videos, polls, photos, and documents. And here are just a couple of, you can say, advantages about each part. Articles, I think they're very easy to consume. I mean, most people are fairly good readers, so it's very easy to read. Video, for me, gives more connection. I feel I can know the person way more if it's through video. Polls is, you can get a lot of engagement. A lot of people like to answer questions on polls, so that's really a great way to get some information. But again, try to make it about them, and if you do a poll, maybe you want to write an article about the insights you got from that afterwards, or at least leave some comments afterwards when the poll is over. So you kind of provide some value afterwards, and people don't just feel, hey, you just made a poll for making a poll. A lot of people do that sometimes, I see. And photos, yeah, of course, they're easy and fast to digest. And you can make documents, upload that. If you have a beautiful slide deck, you can put that up. You can use PowerPoint, Word, or PDF. And the great thing about LinkedIn is it kind of cuts them, so you see the first part of the next slide, so it kind of intrigues you to go ahead and see that. And I think there are some people that make some really beautiful slide decks that you can use. The strange things about LinkedIn, it's a little bit like a dinosaur, like a little bit old. They're not that good at using, you can say, the best features. The mobile unit has more options, which I think is a little bit of a pity. So sometimes, yeah, if you want to use all the options LinkedIn has, you have to use your mobile. But yeah, so check out both ways, your laptop and your mobile phone as well. How to get started, because maybe you're saying, hey, I don't know how to make a video. I just want to get started and kind of get on a roll and get started. And the best way to get started is just to comment on other people's posts in a valuable way that provides value, that's positive. Maybe if you read an article, let's say somebody shares 3 tips to whatever, and you say, wow, number 2 is really something I could need. I'm going to go out and implement that. Or you can share your take on it. Try to provide some insight, some value to it, and stay positive. Another way to do it is just to share others' content. I did that, I think 2 days ago. I shared an event, and I just shared my take on it. It was about a TEDx event that I used to be a trainer for. So I just shared a little bit about what TEDx had given me and why that is a great event. So you need to give your take on it. Don't just share their content. Oh, you shared it. But we want to hear why you shared it. Like if you heard a story out at an event, you also want to tell maybe that story, but also what the story did to you. Then that material becomes kind of you, but it's very easy to do, you know, just 3-5 lines about it, or maybe even 10. Then you have some content you can get going, and hopefully the other people see you share it and be like, oh, that's kind of you. So that way you're kind of starting to build a little bit of a network. Here's a little bit. You can add a GIF. There's an app called Giphy, very easy to use. You can just, you know, and you can use that in the comments. It's usually fun and creates some energy, and there's a good chance people will see that comment. So if you want to give it a little bit more of a spice it up and yeah, have a little bit of fun on the platform as well, you can use a GIF. So the idea is also really that people will comment on your post if you comment on their post. I'm not saying you should just comment on posts in order to get comments to your own post, but if you are active and commenting on other people's posts, there's a good chance they're going to check out your content too. So there's a little bit of a value exchange in there to some degree, but of course that shouldn't be your mindset. It should be, hey, I like this post, I like commenting on it. So yeah, but the important thing is do what you feel most comfortable with, what you really like. Yeah. Here is a little ninja trick I learned, which is, let's say you have 10 or 20 people you like to follow. You can then go into their profile and then press down here. You can see part of see all activity. You click on that one, and then you go to posts and click that one, and you then save the URL. Here's my URL for recent activities. And then you can store that, and you can have, like, let's say you want to have 10 people you follow a lot, or 20 people, and then you can very quickly go into their recent activity and then comment on their videos, their articles, rather than kind of always scrolling through some random stuff. So this is a really great way to create some really solid connections with people and, yeah, save some time. So I think that's a great way to do it. And you can get some, you can say hardcore fans if you comment on people's posts for a while. They see, oh, you like that. So that's a good way to do it. So we are coming to stories. Stories is not content. It is the structure. So whether you are in business or not, you still need to have a story format. So start with a hook. Think about your audience. Your audience. What could make them interested? If it's a written article, what is the one phrase that could get them hooked to read on? Or if it's a video, what could be the first 3 to 5 seconds that would make them want to look for the rest of the video, stay further? And then once you've kind of hooked them, you want to go into some sort of problem. And if it's a timeline, that was probably before something occurred. So pain during that, and then your journey. And this is actually your solution. And you just share what you did. Create some pictures, create some emotions. And then you want to end up with the transformation they're gaining the results. And then I probably would encourage you here for LinkedIn to add like a call to action, the CTA. That could be leave your comments down below with your thoughts on this topic. Leave a comment, was it useful or not? What's your opinion about this? Whatever, you kind of want to have a conversation. This is what a post is about. I think it's about starting a conversation with people and also showing you're open-minded to taking comments and getting smarter as well. So here, a question for you could be, what are your 3 content pillars? So probably you don't want to spread your content around 20 different things. So here I'm just taking a bunch of successful people, and one guy is Grant Cardone. Maybe some of you know him. He'll typically talk about 3 things. This is at least what I've identified. He talks about school and how school messes up your mindset for success. And then he'll talk about real estate and sales. So probably you also have, you can say, 3 main pillars. So this would be a good exercise for you to do. Sit down and think, oh, these are the 3 things I actually talk about. And then you can, make your content around that. For instance, my content that I post is typically how you get paid to speak as a public speaker. The other one is personal growth, because personal growth is a big part of public speaking. And then I will share actual tips and tricks. How do you become a better speaker on stage or to camera? So this is a good exercise. I encourage you to do that one. And here is, how do you find your stories? Emotions is what drives a story. So if you are fired up about something you love, you're enthusiastic about, share those things. Of course, you probably want to stick mainly to the business thing, but if you have some personal things that interest you at the moment, go ahead and share them if you think they provide value. Another thing is you can go talk about what are you afraid of, or what are your clients afraid of, fears. This is a great thing. Frustration, what frustrates you? Because this can get people out of the chair. Failure, share some of your failures you've had, and first times. Maybe you want to share your first time you closed someone in a deal, or the first job you had, or the first CV. We're all interested in that because it kind of brings us back to the beginning of the mountain, where you started. And maybe people are at that particular point right now, and they will be like, oh, he was there at that time. Oh, how did he then get up to the top of the mountain? So this is great to share. Plus, we don't connect through success. We connect through similarities and vulnerability. Oh, you're struggling with that too? Yeah, I am. I struggled with it for years. That's a connection when people say, oh, really? I thought I was the only one that had that problem. So connect more through, you can say, failures, frustrations. This is way better than sharing you are awesome. Then you can, of course, share how you reach the top as well. So go with emotions. This is a really good way to do it. But you can also go a little bit more, you say brain, if you want to sit down and say, oh, how can you do it? You can go to Google. It's available, of course, and you can read some articles. And YouTube is also a great source. You can check out there what are people liking on YouTube, what gets a lot of views, what's interesting. Of course, YouTube is a little bit of a different format than LinkedIn, but probably things that are interested for people on YouTube will also be interesting for people on LinkedIn. Then you just need to change it so it matches with the platform for LinkedIn, which is you probably want to have short content, where YouTube can have a little bit more long format. You typically want to have, very easy, digestible content in the feed. Yeah, if you're reading books, you can have that. News are things happening right now that's interesting, things that are up in the news. Of course, people shared a lot about COVID. Those would be news. Are the industry trends? Is there a big conference? Whatever are the changes in the industry? Share that. People want to hear and learn about what's going on right now. And you can use particular days. For instance, Black Friday is coming up, Christmas coming up. Give your take on certain things related to that. New Year's, everybody will be posting about New Year's resolution. So yeah, if you can be a little bit more creative than that, yeah, maybe you could have a great post on that. And of course, you want to combine the content. We want to hear your takeaway on it. So don't just take the article, don't just take the video, put in your own stories. Combine the stuff. How does it fit your audience? How does it fit in your world? And use your own personal experiences. This is what really gets us interested, because yeah, we could all read a couple articles and that could be valuable, but it becomes way more valuable when we get to hear your take on it and your personal stories, you get more emotional. So yeah, let's look at how can you hook your audience. Here are just a couple of tips and tricks how you can hook your audience. Start with a question or go right into a story. We love a story. Have some compelling, interesting statistics that are interesting to people. You can use that, or a quote. Or you can start with what I call mirroring. Mirror your audience. For instance, it could be, I know maybe you're struggling, you are putting so much time in to make great LinkedIn content and very few people engage with it. I can understand that's frustrating. I used to be there and I feel your pain. And then, oh, the audience will be thinking, he understands me. He's trying to put himself in my position. This creates empathy, it creates likability and understanding, and then there's a good chance they will want to read on to the rest of your article or video. Or you can just make a big fat claim and say, after this article you'll know this, or after this video I'll show you 3 ways to XYZ. So yeah, these are all tips you can use to hook them. So store that away when you're making your first post here, hopefully in short time if you haven't posted before. Then you want to go into the pain. Here are just a couple of things you can use. You can use myth versus truth. You could, for instance, be talking about it's a myth that you can't be well paid to do webinars, and yet you have to be there physically. So this is a myth, and then you talk about the truth. This would be interesting to people. You can also talk about old days versus the present. It used to be so that you didn't need to be able to speak to camera, but everybody needs this today, because even if you're looking for a job, people will be asking you for a video to complement your CV and your written application. This is going to be standard, so you're going to learn this. And so it's kind of similar to present days versus future. And then we also talked about fears, frustration, failures, and first time. These are all topics you can use in order to really go into the pain and make people interested in your topic. And here we go. Then, of course, you want to share the solution. Try to make it as easy to understand. So just what are the steps, how to do something, and have an action step so people can go out there and actually try it for themselves. If you just give them the big picture, think positive. Well, that's kind of hard, probably. Maybe you could be like, journal, write 3 things down that makes you happy every single day. This is more of a how-to and some action steps. And make sure to encourage people to take the first step, because the first steps are typically the hardest. And if you're really good and if you have the time, you can share like a small framework to get going. Maybe you have an ABC framework or whatever it is, or a word, something, and then leave a call to action so they get going. This is very good if you have that. So just a few things here about written content that I want to cover is that it gets a lot of views, but I could say the disadvantage is probably get a little bit lower engagement. It's a little bit harder to feel people. I'm sure if you have experiences, if you've seen a video with people, you have a feeling of who they are. If you just read an article, you're not really sure who they are, or you don't have that same personal connection. The great thing about it is it's probably for most people a little bit shorter time than to make a video. Most people are trained well in school to write, and you don't need to be an amazing writer that has published a book. You can still write good stuff that is interesting for people. And if you like to write, of course, this is optimal for you. Yeah, just a few things. It is LinkedIn. It's not a book. It's not a scientific article. You can spice it up with pictures, emojis, bold text. Here's a page you can use because you can't do it on LinkedIn itself. You can use capital letters to kind of stand out and, yeah, do things that make it easy for people to see. Here is just one that I used. Use one of your own pictures if you can. This is the best idea. And make it about the audience, and then hook them in the beginning. Are you holding back because you're lacking a degree? So I had an article here I talked about I haven't studied rhetoric at the university, and how that helped me back for a while. So use your own pictures, hook them in the beginning, because you can see this is only what people see. And we still have a couple minutes left. Please the eye is this one, because you want to have a lot of enter. It is a news feed, and if it's very hard to digest, people will skip it. So we'll have lots of enters. You can see this is very easy for the eye to read. And let's just wrap up things here with a video. Try not to overcomplicate things. just make a short video, 30 seconds to 2 minutes. You don't need a lot of fancy gears. Speak to the lens. I know it's a challenge, and sometimes I forget it too when I'm doing a webinar, but this is really how you keep eye contact. Shoot that video, maybe invite a friend and batch 5, 10 videos of a minute, and you have a lot of content for a lot of time that you can do. And then again, you don't need a studio. You don't need a lot of fancy stuff. If you want to up your game, yeah, use an external mic, a selfie stick, whatever, but you don't need it. It's just extra thing. Let that not stop you. And yeah, this is if you want to get creative. This is more high-level stuff. You can make a thumbnail for your video, find a unique location, or you can role play. Here's one where I role played and I had somebody edit it for me. So I was pretending I was at a press conference, taking questions as a public speaker trainer, getting tough questions, but don't start with that one if you're new to the game. Editing videos, just want to say it's nice to have, but you don't need it. Here are a couple of softwares that I've used. Clipscribe is really great. You can have one video for free to try it. It's a great Facebook support group. I've also used Subtitle. I prefer Clipscribe. I've heard from other people. KinoMaster is good if you want to edit on the phone. And the last thing, you can go live, but then you have to actually get accepted by LinkedIn. I've gone live a number of times, and it's great to really connect deeply with the people I'm talking to, but also people get to ask questions like you can do right now. So, and you need a third-party software. I'm using StreamYard. It's $10 a month for me, so it's not too expensive. And you can also use Zoom or some other software. If you want to record a conversation between you and another person, of course, you can't go live there, but then you can share part of that conversation to your audience, and then you actually get a lot of good content. So maybe you want to do that next time you have a coffee meeting or chat with someone. Hey, could we just record something together if you thought that was valuable for the audience? So just 2 minutes, that would be great. Yeah, so my final question to you is, when will you post? And I put in parentheses, first, content, because I don't know if you've ever posted before, but put it in your calendar. Let's make this possible, and you can share all the benefits of helping people, learning stuff, and yeah, hopefully getting further in your career. So with that said, do change your profile if you haven't done it, and feel free to connect with me here on LinkedIn, or check out my webpage. And now we'll do questions and answers. I know I went a little bit over time, so, but I hope that's okay.
Thank you very much. That was really, really interesting. And I've got some really good tips just for myself to start using. One thing that worked for me, I just thought I'd share it, is when I go on LinkedIn to have a look, do some liking, do some commenting, I can often get distracted, and before I realise it, I've been on there an hour. So somebody once told me to go onto LinkedIn and do 10 things in 10 minutes. So go on, maybe make a post yourself, do a few comments, a few likes, and then get off there. I actually set myself a timer now to make sure I don't get distracted and stay on there. So that might just be a good tip that's worked for me to save me, I said, just getting distracted by looking around on there. So moving on to the questions, we've had some really good questions, so we'll do our best to get through them all this morning. So first question we've got for you, Asger, is can you let everybody know what a GIF is, please? Yeah, sorry for not explaining that. A GIF is just basically an incredibly short movie. It's probably like 1 to 2 seconds, where just, you know, they tend to be funny, and just is a slightly moving part. Let's say you wanted to give a positive comment to someone on a post, you could have a GIF that goes like this. Hey, right? And then that obviously creates a little bit more dynamic than just having a smiley to the post. So yeah, that can create a little bit, spice it up a little bit. That's a GIF. Super. There's another comment that I'm not sure you'll be able to answer, but I'll touch on it. Is VouchedFor integrated with LinkedIn? VouchedFor is it's something that we use a bit like TripAdvisor, but for financial planners, where clients can leave reviews. So it might be one that I need to go away and look into and come back to. So if the person that's put the comment wouldn't mind sending across their email address, again, only I will see that, and Asger, I'll look into that and email you back and let you know the response on that one, because I'll just check that with VouchedFor and see if they can let me know. And then another question, you mentioned about doing posts and varying them. Is there a good time to post your content on LinkedIn?
Yeah, this is the thing. You can go on YouTube and you can read a bunch of articles, and there will be these so-called LinkedIn gurus that will tell you when it's good to post, because they say the algorithm is like this. The fact is, nobody knows the algorithm except the people in LinkedIn. You can't find it anywhere. At least I've never found it. So I think you need to think about who is probably your most realistic audience. If you're speaking to people in the UK, you probably want to hit a time zone where it's good for them. If you're speaking to people in the US, maybe that's a time zone that's good for them. But yeah, typically during work hours would probably be good. Maybe Monday morning is not the first thing you do to check LinkedIn, but maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, after lunch, something like that. Or some people also tend to use LinkedIn in the evening to post comments. But I would say give it a try and see what works. Of course, you don't want to do it in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m. if that's where you're posting.
Oh, super, yeah. Thank you. And another one, actually, this is a question from me that I have written down. I've read some sort of different conflicting information, really, when you're posting a link to something. So if you were posting a link to a blog that's on your website, for example, should you put the link to the article in the actual post itself, or should you go in and actually put the link within the comments section?
What I've seen, a lot of the people who have a lot of success on LinkedIn, they put it in the comment. Again, some people say it hurts your post if you put it the link in the post. But again, no one really knows because the algorithm is not publicly available, so we don't know. But I would say put it in the comment. Also, not to say it becomes a little bit less salesy if you put it in the comment rather than in the post. So the people that do actually want to engage, they will see the comment. So I'd say, yeah, most of the time you want to put it in the comment, but it depends on the post.
Super. I've got another question. I see lots of personal posts, pictures of dogs, celebrating family achievements, for example. Do you think that these types of posts are a good idea?
No, unless they provide value to the audience. So in not too long, my twins will have a 5-year birthday. So I could share a post about them turning 5, but that would then, I needed them to provide value. I could show a link to YouTube with a great video about people in India, how they celebrate kids getting 5, because for them it's such a huge thing, because not every kid survives till 5 in certain places in India. So I could share that video and say, oh, now it's my kids. We're lucky we live here, and we need to appreciate it. So if you can turn your family post into something valuable, great. But if it's just, hey, we had a great time, share that to people on Facebook or Instagram that care about your personal life.
Super, thank you. Just to let you know, I've seen the comments, a few more people have asked for us to go back to them on the vouched for queries, so I will pick up the email addresses that you've given and let you know the response to that afterwards. Another question for you, Asger. Is it worth paying for Premier or Sales Navigator, and what's the difference between the two?
Sales Navigator, I think, goes a little bit deeper. You can reach further. You can do more searches in terms of, let's say you want to find leaders within a specific field. You can type that in. Premium gives you also some options. For instance, people who viewed your profile, if you're just using the free version, you can only see the last 5 people. So Premium, you get more options. Sales Navigator is probably more if you really want to scale your business and do more selling and reach out to more people. Premium is maybe you get a few clients here and there. So I think it's about how ambitious you want to be and how much you use LinkedIn. But for the average person, you can come a very long way with just the free version.
Super. Thank you very much. I've come to the end of the questions, everybody. So thank you very much for some really good questions to get us thinking. Just as a reminder, obviously, the slides from today and any links to anything that Asger's referred to will be in the resources section. They'll also be uploaded on the PFS Power website with the presentation from today later on today. The final webinar on how to network on LinkedIn, which I'm really looking forward to, is on the 30th of November. So make sure you jump onto the PFS Power site and register for that. It's also a really good idea, if you missed the first one, to get your profile updated. Obviously, have a look back at that, and hopefully you'll get some good tips from there. So just want to say thank you very much again for Asger for sharing all this knowledge with us this morning. Thank you for anybody that's joined us. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll hopefully see you a week on Tuesday. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you as well.